In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys my Whatnot setup. When I first started doing Whatnot, I treated it like every other platform, and I have since learned that there are many different ways that you can use Whatnot and kind of pick and choose how you want to run your shows and also how you want to set it up. So what I started doing in the beginning is not how I do it now, and I think things became a lot more efficient, and that's the method that I'm going to show you today. In case you don't already know, Whatnot is an online live auction buying and selling platform. I'm actually already set up for a show that is upcoming. If you guys want to check out some upcoming shows that myself or my team will be doing, you can click the link down below. By using that link, you will get $15 off of your very first purchase. So you could use that on something that we're showing in the show and basically get it for free. And you don't have to just use that coupon on my show. There are hundreds of shows going on all of the time, and you can use your coupon on those as well. They do clothing shows, they do hard goods shows. I think I've seen like Pokemon cards and video games. So whatever you're into, they've got it on the platform. The next Whatnot show we're going to be doing is this Tuesday, the 18th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so let's get into this setup. Now, like I said, when I first started doing Whatnot, I was treating it like every other platform. So I would take each individual item and I would make a listing for every single item. And by watching other Whatnot sellers who were very successful on the platform, I realized that a lot of sellers were not listing everything individually. So I reached out to an online community about Whatnot and I learned this method that you're gonna see here, plus added my own slight touches to them. So as you guys can see, everything is sorted. I bought these little things off of Amazon. They're just little clothing dividers or closet dividers is how you could look them up. And these particular ones, which I do have linked in my supply list, you can write on with dry eraser markers. So we wrote down the weights. So these weights that you're seeing are the weight classes within a Whatnot listing. And so basically what we've done is we have sectioned off each item and weighed them according to their weight class and placed them accordingly. And so basically what'll happen is we'll weigh the item, we'll put it in its appropriate area, and then I will just make a multi-quantity listing that includes, let's say, I don't know, I could go all the way up to like 200. And so that way, no matter how many items I put in it, I just keep rerunning the same item. So every item in this section, for instance, is all of our purple items. And then I'll actually list that as a purple picks listing. I'll show you an example here on the screen of how I do that. Everything in this one right here are our green picks, and that's everything that's going to weigh 8 to 11 ounces, red picks, yellow picks, and orange picks. Some resellers I've seen just split it up into two, and they do basically anything up to a pound and then 1 to 2 pounds. I personally like to break it down even further because otherwise I would be charging my customers more than what they actually need to pay in shipping. So even though it's a little bit extra work on our end, I think it does help increase sales because the amount that they're paying in shipping is much lower per piece. And then so we just sort them. And then what we do is put a clothespin on every single one of them. Now, these clothespins you can get at the dollar store for, I think I got a pack of 50 for $1. Then we just labeled them with our label maker by number, each having 1 through 100, an individual SKU of sorts. So this acts as a custom label so that we know when an item sells, what number it actually belongs to. And you're not having to input any of this into the actual listing itself with this method, but you're going to want it to keep track of what numbers your customer got. So this is how I will prep for a Whatnot show. Like I said, these items are all stuff that are for this show that I'm about to do here. Actually, it's tomorrow. Joe's on the camera behind me, so him and I are going to be doing a show. But the next one, which I mentioned, is this upcoming Tuesday. And I will be prepping some items for that show here in just a couple of days. So what I would do for that show, I've got a tote right here of some stuff that's going to be going into that show. I've got some intimately free people items. Everybody loves the free people items. I've got a women's Brooks Brothers new tags. The stuff retails for a lot. Golf vest. I've got a Sundance top. So let's prep these 3 items. All I would do is I would cut the little Goodwill tabs off of them if you have them, whatever price tags. I'm going to get my scale ready. Watch how easy this is. I'm actually going to use a box because it just makes it easier. So I'm going to, you can see the box weighs 6.8 ounces. Since most of these things are going to go in a poly mailer, I want to know just the weight of the item and then we'll round up. So I'm going to zero this out. So I'm going to take the item. This is a Sundance item. I would just weigh it. And then I would know that that needs to round up to 5 ounces. If we were closer to 5, I'd round up to 6, but 5 ounces. So then I would take this item. I would grab my hanger, hang it up, probably button everything up, which I'll do before the show. And then if you come over here, I'll just place it in the appropriate weight class. So that was 5 ounces. So it would go between 4 and 7. Easy as cake. Let's do another item. So this is the Intimately Free People. I would weigh, that's another 5 ounces. So I would take this item and I put it in the appropriate weight class, which is just gonna go right here with the Sundance top. Weighing it, this one actually weighs more, so it's 11.1 ounces. So I'm gonna round up to 12 because that's what it's gonna ship at. Pick it up. And then this would go into the 12 ounce area. For all 3 of these items and really everything on this area here, I would grab some of our SKUs. Like I said, it doesn't really matter what order it goes in because I'm not putting this in the individual listing. I'm just using it to keep track of my customers' orders. And I'll explain where this is useful here in a second. So here's that Brooks Brothers. I would place it on that. The Sundance. And the Intimately Free People. So once I have input my multi-quantity listing for each of the weight classes and I make sure that it's an amount that I know I'm going to be able to get through, I've hung everything up, I've cut the tabs off, I have steamed everything, and I have put these numbers on, then I am ready for my Whatnot show. Let me show you the setup, just general overall of the Whatnot show. So the way I have this set up is for 2 people to actually be doing the show. You don't have to have 2 people. It's just way more efficient if you do, but you could totally do this by yourself. What I like to do is have 3 devices. Again, you do not have to have this many. I'm just showing you simply how we're running the shows. So for my shows, I've got my rack beside me. Everything's pretty close quarter. I've got my rack beside me. I've got a table with I call it kind of like my auction running laptop. This is where I'm going to set auctions live. And then right here, I've got my ring light with my phone where I start everything and we're filming. Everything is being filmed through this one. And then over here, I usually have another person. Again, you don't have to have another person. You could do everything on one device, the camera, the controller, like all of it, and just run it yourself. But we have an additional person right here that can help deal with not only the chat, but also once the item does sell, taking it to the other side, which I'm gonna show you guys here in just a moment as another part of our process. This person in the background also helps describe items because auctions, at least the way we do them, go pretty quickly. So I might say, hey, I'm running this Sundance floral top, size medium, and then I start the auction and then the customers are like, wait, what size was that? So the person here usually types in the chat Sundance medium top. That way everybody's on the same page. So what would happen if I decided I wanted to run this item is that I would pull this item. I would know that I took it from the purple section. I would come to this laptop and I would run a purple item. Remember, it's multi-quantity, so as long as I've put enough in there, like I said, we're just making it like 200, then we can run as many as we want. So I would run a purple item, and that's basically running a listing where the listing knows what the weight class is so that when it sells, the shipping gets charged appropriately. The listing just says like purple picks. So then I would be showing this, I would run my item. Once the item sells, which we sell pretty much everything that we auction, there's only been a few pieces that we haven't sold. So I would guess that this item would sell. Once the item sells, what we like to do is pass it off to our other person. Again, you could totally do this by yourself. I chose to have a double rack, but you could also have like a separate rack or a table or really anything that you wanted. This is the best way that we found, and I've tried many different ways. So let's say that username Farmer Joe won this Sundance top. The person over here would grab the item, they would place it over here, and then they would grab another dry erasable closet divider. And you can see that these are a different shape than the other ones. Grabbing my dry erase marker, I would write Farmer Joe, the username, and then I would record the item number. So this is number 42. I would write 42. And then this starts their closet, essentially. A lot of my customers buy multiple items from us, so this is why this method works so great. So then this person is running another item, and let's say this one also sells to Farmer Joe. So I'm showing the item, I'm running it, the item sells, I'm passing it over to the person who's behind the scenes helping. So let's say again, this sold to Farmer Joe. So I would just place this in Farmer Joe's section and I would record number 27 on here. And this can hold a lot of numbers. We've sold probably 30 items to one person before, and we were able to fill up all of the numbers. You can also use the back. And at the end of it, you just use an alcohol wipe and wipe it off, and it's reusable. It's fantastic. All right, so let's say the next item sells to a different buyer. So this is that Brooks Brothers item. Let's say this sold to, let's say that this sells to Hulk Hogan 97. Right. So I hand it over to the other person. They would take this item. And by the way, when somebody's item sells, you can see the username on the screen. It stays up until you run the next item. So it's really easy to keep track of things. What did I say? Hulk Hogan 97.
Yes.
So I'd write Hulk Hogan 97. I would start their new closet area, and then I would record 69. And that's how it works. So after all of the items sell, what happens is basically this side of the rack ends up on this side of the rack, and they're all divided by the customers. Print the shipping labels, and then we take the shipping labels, which have the buyer's username on it, and we basically attach it and ship it with their order. We use this method here as just an additional extra step to make sure that the right things got to the right buyers. So when we're going to ship Farmer Joe's, let's say we've got the shipping label on hand, we know it's Farmer Joe's order, we're going to grab this and we're going to make sure, okay, Farmer Joe should have 2 items in their order. It should be number 42 and number 27. Let's make sure that those are actually the numbers. 42, 27, yes it is, and we're good to go. And so that is the gist of how I organize, get ready, prep, and run a Whatnot show. I know there's a lot of details and screen shares in between. If you guys want to see more details and actually see what's happening on my screen as I run shows, then let me know down in the comments below, and I can do another video with some tips and tricks and screen shares of exactly how the shows are being ran. But that is the overall concept. And like I said, I really love this method. We've tried so many methods, and this is the easiest one for my team, and it's the one that is very seamless and keeps things moving very quickly so that the customers can see the next item. And the faster you can go in auctions, that means the more you can sell. And you'll grab your buyer's attention versus taking 5 minutes for every item. If you guys want to get started on Whatnot and you want to use this method, you absolutely do not have to have all of the equipment to get started. And you can still use the same concept with less materials. And so when we started this in the beginning, we did the weight method, but we just put things in buckets with little sticky notes of the buyer's username. But again, the overall concept is the same, and it saves a lot of time versus listing each item individually. So that is how we do everything. Again, if you want to see this live in action, I have some upcoming Whatnot shows. If you come on this coming Tuesday's Whatnot show, it'll be at 5 p.m. with Joe and I, and you can see this in action of exactly how I'm running everything, plus snag some really great items that are over there in that bucket. 3 of them I showed you today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.